Hi, welcome to another edition of the Code Coder. I am your Code Coder, and I'm here to make you great and help you innovate. Today, we're going to take on a new piece of software called Buildbox. Buildbox is a game engine, really exciting, and we're going to get going now. All right, first thing I'll do is hit Command Spacebar and type in Buildbox. Now, you will see I have two different versions. There's a 2D version and a 3D version. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3D version. So I'll open that up. Great piece of software to use across the board. When we're teaching computer science, it's really hard to abstract the content up to a high enough level to where it's easy enough for the beginner to use. It's kind of weird how high to low. Anyway, Buildbox does that. And then I can use it across my pathways, even to my rigorous programmers, because you can open it up and code to it. So really neat. So let's go ahead and put it up over here. And yeah, let's kind of make it so you can see it. So we'll do this deal here and make it here. There, good. Okay, so today we're just going to create a game, a repeat game of out there's a game called Voodoo. And we're going to make a flat version of it. And this is a remake of a video done by Zach from Buildbox. If you want to see that video, go to Buildbox's site or YouTube and put in Voodoo Game Part 1. I'm going to do this for my computer science classes and try to make sense of it in that. Okay, so if I go ahead and double click this default template, it'll go ahead and open up this default template. There'll be a lot of stuff already coded for you. If they actually just run that, that'll actually play. Okay, in fact, why don't we try that? I'll hit play. You'll see that it has a box with it. Doesn't do much there, but we're going to go ahead and program this into a game. Okay, so I'm going to kill that there, and I'm going to go into, there's two nodes. Okay, you'll see, and we're not going to do the start nodes. We're going to go into the 3D. Okay, first thing we're going to do is talk about the 3 or 4 different areas. I like people just working with this instances of objects here, this instance hierarchy, I call it. All right, and then here is the copies of those instances on your main canvas. All right, and then over here will be the properties of those instances. So have those 3 areas in your head. There's a 4th area over here. These are the objects. So these are what objects are available to you in your program, and you could add more through this asset library. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the first thing let's do, let's actually talk about these objects. You see there's 2 available to me, the ground. When I click on it over here, when it gets instantiated, remember these are your objects and they're not actually in your world until they get instantiated over here. When they get instantiated, you can click on them over here and you see there's a gold border around the object in your world. All right, here's the cube, you see the gold, all right? And there's an end line, which is this one, and a start line. And the start has a box, and then the end has a kind of a, if I look at this, you see it's kind of a point. Okay, and we're going to deal with those right away too. All right, but before that, we're actually going to take care of this cube's a little big. So I'm going to click on it here, and then over here, you can see that there are sections, or I can scale it from over here in the properties. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this 0.25. Okay, and I'm going to make this 0.25, and I'm going to make this 0.25. Okay, so now I have a smaller box or cube or character on my timeline here. And if you hit these arrows, these are the tools up here, and there's 3 tools that they offer. Okay, there is let's go. There is, okay, there is a scale tool. Okay, there is a rotation tool. Okay, and there is a scale tool. This actually was the move tool. Move tool, scale tool. All right, 3 tools. You're going to use these 3 tools a lot. You could actually access them by hitting 1, 2, or 3 on the keyboard. Okay, so we'll do that. Right now I'm on the first one, the move tool, and if I use the blue, I'm actually moving the Z axis up here. See that? All right, so I'm going to move that Z this way, and if you move the other one, it would, all these would change also. You could also change them from up here. All right, so before that, let's go ahead and make, I want to go ahead and make my play area bigger. So I'm going to go to this N one, and I'm going to pop this out about 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, then I'm going to take the ground, and I want the ground to grow also, and I'm going to use this scale tool. But before I do that, I'm going to kind of make it move in the middle, and you'll see why here in a second. Okay, I'm going to move it perfectly in the center of those two. And that seems to be about right. Okay, now I can go ahead and hit 3 on my keyboard, and I have the scale tool, and I can now make this area bigger. Okay, so that's nice. That's set up perfectly. Okay, so I'm using the control spacebar to move around on this and pressing down on my mouse or my mouse pad. Okay, and I'm getting to look around it. Okay, all right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in some walls. Okay, and so to put some walls in, I'm going to add another object to my game, and it's another cube, not to be confused with the first cube. This is another object, and this is going to be of type wall. Okay, so I go here, and I'm going to go ahead and click over here, and you'll see over here I can change the name of it to wall. All right, so this cube's a little bit different than the main character. Okay, and these walls are going to, remember, they're just an object that you actually declared over here, but now they got to be instantiated. Okay, and you guys have worked with your computer science objects before where you declared them and then you instantiate them. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this over to -4.7. Okay, and then I'm going to make the walls a little more thin. All right, and then I want that wall to run the length of the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 1 on my keyboard, move this thing down in perfectly in between both sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, perfectly in the middle. So now if I hit 3, I can now constrain that, okay, to the size of the entire ground. I'm going to go just before the edge there. All right, so if I look at that, there's a wall, perfect. And I want to go ahead and duplicate, put a wall on the other side because my character is going to be confined within these 2 walls. To do that, all I have to do is hit D on my keyboard. If I hit 1 on my keyboard, it'll give me the move tool, and I can move this over to 4.7 over there. So if it's -4.7 here, then over here it has to be a +4.7. Okay, so I'm going to use, I'm up here, changing it right there. Okay, pretty good. Okay, so perfect. I got 1 there, -4.7, 4.7 here. Everything looks perfect. Now let's talk some more about that cube. Okay, so this cube currently is not a cube. It's actually a main character. And so we want to name it, actually want to name it main character. Okay, but before we do that, I want to go back for a second. And this ground, all right, has some properties that need to be set. This whole thing's gonna be in a 3D world, which means it has physics, it has friction, it has gravity. So we want to go in here and make sure the ground stays static. So we turn on its physics, make it static. Okay, go back into the 3D world again. Same thing with the walls. The walls have to start with physics, and they have to be static. They're not going anywhere. Okay, all right, pretty good. All right, now go back into here. Now we have this cube. This cube's going to be the main character. Okay, and before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and make it the main character. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this. Okay, I'm going to take this cube, all right, and I'm going to make it a character. So the character is up over here. So I'm going to take this cube up into here, and now you're going to see that I have it's renamed to actor, Okay, but over here I want to name it main character. Make sure to spell that right. Main character. There it is. Okay. So we have main character over there. And now you see he's under the characters situation. So let's talk a little bit about declaring objects and inheritance right here. I'm going to switch over to the whiteboard and we're going to talk a little bit about that, right? So let's go over whiteboard and let's do something like this. Okay, so I'm over here at the whiteboard and let's talk about those characters. So we have a cube, all right, and this cube, I just moved up to character, okay? In fact, we changed its name to main character. Okay, so here's the main character. Okay, and now I put him in inheriting from character. Okay, so if you look at it like this, it's now like this. Okay, and it actually, main character takes all the characteristics of character. Now before it was under object. So it was like this. Here's object. Okay, and we had the main character over here. Now we don't have anything over here besides we have a ground and we have the wall. They're all cubes to start, but as these objects become instantiated, they go ahead and inherit from the class above them. Now, it's my theory, and I'm not sure exactly how this is written, but it's my theory that object's above character. So I feel like this is like this. Okay, so character is an object also. Whoops, that's going to be a little bit out of the screen. I just realized that. Okay, so I have a feeling that this object is actually up here. Okay, and so it's, the hierarchy has it as an object. Character inherits from object, or object. Character inherits from object, and main character inherits from character. And remember, it gets all those properties and functions of its superclass. Okay, but right now we have an object, and it's just of type ground, and the wall has that object. So it's important to take the main character and put it under character so that I get some of that action of what the character is going to do, and these aren't going to get that. Okay, that makes sense? All right, so let's go ahead and I'll erase that real quick, and we'll switch back over. I don't know if I need to have you watching me do that. So let's back to computer, and yeah, I'll step here, and then I'll step here, and I'll be back. All right, there we go. All right, so that's where the main character is now. And he has certain functionalities now that he's a type of character. All right, again, I believe that he's retaining the object properties and functionality also, but I'm not sure how it's written. Okay, so if I double click character, we go into the node scene and we can actually add or enable other nodes. Okay, and that enable word is going to come up later on in chapter 4, the 4th video. All right, so let's see. The first thing I want to have happen is I want movement. So I'm going to move this, put movement out here, and I'm going to go ahead and connect that up or enable it. Okay, and I want it to kind of move not along the Z, not along the Y, but I want it to actually move along the, actually, let's go back. I want it to move the Z. It's actually going to go downrange down the Z axis. And if I go minus 17, that's a good speed. And I'm going to have 0 for X and 0 for Y. Okay, so that's move. And then I also want to have the key it controlled by the touchpad or the touching the screen or the mouse, whatever device you're on. So I'm going to do a move touch, or touch move. I'm going to hook that up, enable that. All right, and if I click on the touch move, I don't want the Z in action here. I'm just going to go back and forth, missing characters. I'm going to have 0 there, and then here I'm going to have 0.2. Okay, and that looks good. Now also I'm going to have in here something happen for when like the character hits the walls. And so I'm going to do an if collide action. Okay, I'm going to enable that. All right, and when I collide with the walls, I want the character to be defeated. Okay, and then I want to do one other thing, which is I want to run an animation. Okay, and again, courtesy Zach, I have an animation, some PNG files to make this animation go, and that's called Glow. And I'll open up those files, and we'll just dump them all into this window here. And that'll create an animation. And if I click this pen here, see this little pen? If I click that pen, I could actually go in and edit my animation. And I notice it's a little small, so I'm going to make it 5 and 5. Okay? And if I don't want to loop, I just want to hit the wall and be defeated one time. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, just one time. All right, looks good. All right, so I got that, and that. All looks good. And then now what I want to do is I want to preview it. Okay, but before I preview it, this is a software, but it doesn't save automatically. And since it is programming, I would say save early, save often. It's easy to get yourself caught up in a bunch of infinite loops, and then it just crashes. Okay, so let's save it, Command S on the keyboard. And I'm just going to call it Voodoo Game version 1. Just save it right on your desktop. Okay, just go ahead and save it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and preview what we have so far. Okay, wish me luck. All right, there it goes. It's just floating out to the great blue yonder, great gray yonder. That's exactly what we should have. And you see the camera doesn't follow it. The camera stays with the ground. We want the camera to follow it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and drop that. I'm going to go back into my 3D world. You'll see that up here in the world, the 3D world hierarchy, you have a camera, okay? And this camera has some settings on it so you can see what's going on. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go a little up, and I want to go back. And then I want to rotate this down so I can see down the lane a little bit. But I like getting kind of over the camera so I can see all the colored lines. This will rotate down. I'm going to have it rotate down somewhere about right there. Okay. Now I'm going to play it. See, yeah. Okay, so see how you can see the bottom here? Okay, that's going to be a problem. So what I want to do is I want to try to make this thing a little bit bigger, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ground, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just make it a little bit larger. So get to my here, bigger. Okay, now when I do that, I could also click here. Now I click on multiple by holding Command, okay? And now this will stretch these things out, you know, as long the area. Then I could take the start and move it back. Take the start and move it back. Take my character and start him a little bit earlier. Now if I play it, let's see what I have. Ah, that looks a little better. But you can still see the end. So what I figured out you can do is actually move the camera while you're still playing it. You can kind of see what's going on. So I'm just going to angle that camera down a little bit more. So there it is. I'm going to hit 2 on my keyboard, and I'm just going to take the angle down to where I don't see the end. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to refresh it. There it goes. And I'm going to save it. I notice that you have to save it while you're playing it to save those properties. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and drop out of that, and that looks pretty good. And there's one other thing that I want to happen with the camera, and I'm going to show you first why I'm going to make that change. So it's going to have to do with this follow force. So I'm going to go back to my character, and I'm going to add one more thing called a trail, because you can't really see yourself moving back and forth. All right, so I'm going to add this trail, connect this on, and then I'm going to add on this trail another little GIF, and I'm going to go to this one. Go to my downloads. That's where I downloaded it at last. Let's see here. Saw it. Okay, so here's the PNGs, and I just downloaded this from the internet. There's a lot of free sites that make these little things for you. Right, this is called Kenny Particle. I try to give a little bit of shout out for those people that are doing that for us. Pretty awesome. All right, so now it has a fade, and I noticed that you have to go 1, and the width has to be 500. You won't see this, it's kind of small, and it has to be transparent. Okay, so now you have a little trail. You'll see yourself moving. Okay, I'm going to hit Command S. Always save early, save often. I'm not sure what's going to happen, and then go ahead and play it. All right, there's my trail. Really good. But if you see, if I play it again, you'll see that the camera is not following. All right, so let's go ahead and play with that camera. I told you we'd come back and play with this setting. So if I go camera, and I now say, I don't want the camera to follow nothing. I want to follow the character. Okay, and then let's go ahead and play that actually, because I want you to see something. Okay, it is now, it's following the character. Okay, and then I don't want it to follow force on this. I want the follow force to be 0. Okay, and then one other thing on the character I forgot to put is the character has to follow physics also, and we're going to have it kinematic, meaning it's gonna adhere to other objects in its scene. Okay, and now let's go ahead and save, and let's play this. Right, not quite what I want yet. So let me kill this, and this, and let me go this 3D world and play it again. That seems to be taken off. It's following the character, but I feel like the ground and the wall are not correctly put in here. The ground looks good. Oh, there's the crash. See, told you sometimes you could get into these infinite loops really easy with computer science programs, and that's what's happening there. So we're going to restart it and send them a note. Send Buildbox notes, new program. Tell them they have some errors. Was just trying to troubleshoot physics, and hit send. All right, over here I have it saved. We'll open it back up. All right, and go into the 3D world, and then let's hit play. Okay, everything looks good except it's the camera is following the character, but the character is going down the z-axis, so that's a problem. So let's see why it's going down the z-axis. We said move. Let's move in z, no problem. I don't want X and Y. Oh, and then touch move. This goes down 0.2. Move on the X, and this only goes Z. I feel like somehow the like the ground is moving. So the ground's supposed to stay static. Okay. The character is supposed to stay, supposed to move, but he's only gonna go. Oh, the collide should be only for the walls. So it was colliding with everything, the wall, the ground, everything. All right, so I must have skipped that part. All right, so now everything should work. I'm gonna Command S, save it, and then I'm gonna go back into it, and yeah, it's still moving. Kill that. Make sure that's saved. Wall. Looks good. Touch move 0.2. Move -17. I'm going to switch this up to 10. -10. Okay, and then play. Okay, it does crash. You see that works. That the if statement works, but it's kind of going off of the line. It's going into infinity. Oh, actually, that looks perfect. That's actually what I want to do. Because I have to add another scene. So basically it's finishing the start scene, and then it has to go into the end scene. So so if I have everything perfect like I do, okay, I'm going to click on start and make the next scene. So that's what was going on. It should go, and the scene should be duplicating stuff over and over, and therefore it wouldn't look like I'm going into oblivion. So if I click on start and hit D on the keyboard, okay, you'll get a brand new scene. There it is. And it duplicates everything: the ground, the walls, start, finish. But it also duplicates the character, which we don't need because he's going to come from the start. Okay, so now as we play it, you're going to see, there it is. So it's not going to oblivion. It is actually getting played over and over, and you can't see it because we didn't have the next level on. Okay, so really nice, really smooth. And that's part 1 of our Build Voodoo game in Buildbox. And again, thanks Zach from Buildbox for doing the original video. And I will see you in version 2. Remember, I'm trying to make you great, help you innovate. See you next time.